Hi and welcome back. Oktoberfest was kind of fun, but actually turned out to be more commercialized than I would have liked to. About the only thing that they had was the tables in the middle of the street and the music. They had one vendor for beer and a couple of vendors for food, but that is it. The rest of it was very commercialized. Didn't buy much because I don't need much. I remember whenever Oktoberfest was about the people, about the food, about the music, and about the happy. It's not like that much anymore. I feel sad for the younger generation who can't experience that. But I digress. Now that we've gone ahead and got out of the kitchen a little bit, we are still getting figs. Lots of figs. I am getting about this much 3 times a week. I have a half a gallon of figs in the freezer, and I am running out of room because it's becoming deer season and we need to do something with all this food that is filling up our freezer. So what I'm going to do is we're going to make fig bars. I cannot say the copyrighted version that everybody can get on at the grocery store, but I am going to go ahead and make some for the boys. These are not going to be gluten-free. In order for these to be gluten-free, I would suggest using oat flour and rolled oats to substitute for the ingredients or the flours that I'm going to be using for this. Now, I cannot do oats because with being diabetic, it does hurt a little bit. Not as much as rice. Rice does hurt a lot. But oats, I can make a batch of it. You don't need to do just figs. I also have some raspberries that I need to get rid of. I am going to go ahead and split these up. I'm going to make some oats, batch for me, and then some non-gluten-free wheat fig bars for the boys. So let's get started. All right, so we're going to go ahead and prepare the dough. The dough does need to rest a little bit after you put it in. It's 1/2 cup of room temperature or slightly melted butter. If you pop a whole stick into the microwave for 30 seconds in a microwave safe bowl, it'll come up to be somewhat room temperature. 1/2 cup of sugar. Now for this recipe, it wants 1/4 cup sugar, 1/4 cup brown sugar. I just have regular white sugar, and all you have to do is add a little bit of molasses to this to make it brown. Not that much. The more molasses that you add, the more deeper the flavor is going to be. But I would not do a lot. Teaspoon to a tablespoon max. You want to stir it around at this point to make sure everything is incorporated, because you don't want pockets of that molasses in there, and it mixes nicely with the butter. Where you can kind of get it looking like this. Alright, to this we are going to be adding 2 eggs. A teaspoon of vanilla. I'm almost done with this vanilla, and I'll be able to break out my brandy vanilla that I made 2 years ago. Should be done. Okay, you want to mix this all in, and then we're going to start adding the dry ingredients. Now, you can add spices to this if you wish. Sometimes the recipe that I'm using recommends a little bit of cardamom. I am not doing that because I feel that that's going to take away from the fig flavor and the deep molasses flavor that will add to this dough. Now, if you notice, I have regular flour. I also have wheat germ. We're going to split this up into 1 cup of flour and 3/4 cup of the wheat germ. It gives it that little bit of a grain flavor to it, or grainy texture to it, so that, you know, not quite like the regular ones that you buy at the store, but pretty close. Also, this will add a little bit more of the nutrition from the wheat germ, or the wheat plants, into the cookie. So 1 cup of regular flour, about 3/4 of a cup of the germ, quarter teaspoon of baking powder, and salt, and you're also going to add baking soda to this as well, same amount. But I am out, so we're going to omit that. Pinch of salt. And this is where you would add the cardamom if you want to. Like I said, I'm not. And we're going to go ahead and make this into a really nice, thick dough. Okay, it's not going to be like bread-like or really cookie-like. We do need to let this rest to kind of thicken up a little bit, and to stiffen. And I do recommend to put it into the refrigerator for about an hour, and this is what we are working with. Now, while we are waiting for this to stiffen up a little bit, we do want to go ahead and start on the pie, onto the fig filling. Now, just to let you know that every recipe that I have found calls for already dried figs. We are using fresh figs, very fresh figs, almost overripe figs, and they're definitely not dehydrated. So we are going to be making the filling and making the jam. This is going to take longer than if you do use the dry dehydrated figs because of the extra moisture. You'll be doing it the same way, same ingredients. This is just going to take a little bit more time than if these were already dehydrated. Recipe calls for 16 dehydrated figs, so we're going to use all of this. And basically we're going to be making like a jam out of this, but not like the fig jam that I made before. We're adding other things. We're adding some of that orange marmalade we made the other day. as well as a lemon to give it a little bit more of a tang flavor. The zest and the juice, not the flesh of the lemon, but the marmalade that we made will actually help in solidifying this and making it into a filling. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and zest 1 lemon. This is a small lemon. And we are also going to go ahead and juice said lemon. Alright, so we have the figs, the lemon juice, and the lemon zest. I am going to add some ginger, just for a little kick. Just a little kick. Alright, and our orange marmalade. A really good dollop of that. Maybe 2. You can use this as filling too if you want. Okay, and another 1/4 cup of sugar for this. Basically, we're making another version of fig jam, and it's going to be a little bit thicker than what we normally did do for the preserves. And that's what we're going to be using for our filling. So while this is reducing itself, you want to kind of chop it just like with the regular fig bars that you buy at the store. Okay, if you notice, they're a little bit coarse and a little bit choppy. That's what we're doing now, is that we are making sure that they are just a little bit choppy. We don't want to put this in the blender and make it all nice and smooth. We want that bite. And this is going to take a while. So, see you in a YouTube minute. We're about halfway done getting this reduced. Like I said, because we're adding fresh fruit to this instead of dehydrated, it's going to take a little bit while longer. I've been notified by the boys that they also wanted the raspberry in with their fig bars. So, we're going to go ahead and do a double batch. Now, while I am reducing this, I also made myself some of the oat cookie dough to be able to make some for me. Now, there is a little bit of difference whenever you're using oats and oat flour. You use the same amount of the flour versus wheat germ, a lot, you know, with oats and oat flour, but reduce the butter for 1/2. So a 1/4 stick or a 1/4 cup of butter, and 1 more egg. So 3 eggs, 1/4 cup of butter. The rest of the ingredients are the same. What I've gone ahead and done for the oats, now the wheat, I'm going to do it differently. But for the oats, because of the consistency, we're going to put half of it into a dish, cook it, and put the filling on top, and then the rest of the dough on top to be able to make these stuffed cookies. And then cut it up like bars. Now that we are nice and thick, we're going to let this cool off a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and prepare the dough. I already have the oat blend into the oven right now. We're waiting on that. And let's go ahead and get the wheat started. Alright, so now that this is nice and firm, not necessarily done, but definitely firm, we're going to go ahead and gently spoon this all the way, kind of like a pizza, but nice and thick. This is for the gluten-free oat one. As close to the edge as possible without going over, because the rest of this oat mixture is going to go on top and back into the oven. Now you try to do this the best you can. It may or may not spread perfectly, I want to say. But the best you can. Right. And back in the oven. These are going in for 350 until done. Usually it's about 15-20 minutes. For the oats anyway, because they are different. There's a little bit more moisture in them. Now for the rolled, we are going to need to literally roll this out. This has been sitting for a few hours, so it should be all nice and put together, but we do need to make more of a rolled dough than anything else, so we're going to get our hands dirty. While I am doing this, I am going to very much diligently keep washing my hands. Here we go with the sticky. Remember, fig bars are kind of squarish. What we're going to do, we're going to put half of this back in the bowl. Spread this out and kind of flatten it. More flour. Flatten it. And literally make it a rolled cookie. With the filling in the middle. And then roll it. I am not the best. This is not going to turn out picture perfect. I'm going to try though. Cut these up, put them on something to bake.
They are a little wet. I'll get it. I'll get it. I promise you, I will get it. Off camera. You know, I should never, ever, ever try to do things on camera, because it will come out looking terrible, and I apologize for that. Basically what I did was, with the rest of the dough that I didn't use in the cookies that are baking now that are mush, I went ahead and added a heck of a lot more flour and kneaded it. To where it's a lot more stiff. Look at that, a lot better. Not as wet, not as sticky. And we're going to try this again. Make sure it's not sticking on the bottom. You can add a little bit of flour to that, just to make sure. Thin line of the filling. And then you roll it. A little bit too much filling, a little too much, but not impossible like the last one. This time we can actually cut these up into cookie-sized cookies, just like that. These we can bake. These are the ones that are going to give me a little bit more of a picture-perfect cookie. The other ones look like, well, don't want to say it on camera, but you can only guess. And yes, there's a reason why I cook on aluminum foil, because all I have to do is pull this up and hardly anything to clean. There we go. Because we have the rest of this, that's going to burn. While it's cooking. So 350, keep an eye on it, check it in 10 minutes, and then a few minutes after that. All right, I pull these out and let these cool a little bit. These are looking a little bit better than the first batch I did, but there's some issues here. Please bear with me. It's been over 10 years since I've worked with wheat flour. So let's go ahead and go over better ways of being able to do this. All right, here is the dough that we stiffened with more flour to make it to where it's more stuffable, and it is. Like I said, you know, it burnt. So if we pick this up, I hardly have anything to wash. But the problem is with this is that the dough becomes hard and crumbly because of the extra flour. So depending on how you like your cookie, you might like this, you might not. Now for the first batch of the flour, the one that I didn't stiffen up the dough, they look terrible. But they're more cookie-like. So that is just, you know, something to work on. Now, what I am guessing is that the instructions were for the, I am guessing that the dough was supposed to be just like the oats. Just like this, where you bake a little bit on the bottom, put it on, and then put more on top to be able to cut into bars. That probably would have been more ideal. Just to let you know, none of this is going in the garbage can. It's probably not going to make it last the weekend because these are cookies that can be eaten by everybody but me. And in the meantime, you can cut your oat bars into squares. Do what you can about getting them out. Get something smaller. It's very crumbly because of the oats, but gluten-free. It still eats. But if you want to stiffen this up a little bit, because the bottom is falling apart, to add a little bit of the rice flour, gluten-free rice flour to this to be able to stiffen it up a little bit. I can't do rice because I'm a diabetic and rice hurts. All right, so I am needing my third shirt change for the day because I've got stuff all over it. I'm going to be filming more this week, and hopefully the figs will stop. They'll stop eventually, but they will stop, and we actually start getting cooler weather. It's in the 70s at nighttime now, and still in the 90s during the daytime, but we're opening everything up at nighttime because it is so much cooler. That's good. It still tastes like, I added too many raspberries to this, so it tastes like raspberry fig instead of fig raspberry. But it's still good. You can do this with any fruit. I'm gonna go sit down, relax, eat my cookies, and we'll see you next time.